We are back here with Al McFarlane with Insight News. We're talking about racism in this country, and even 21st century, we're still talking about. Al, you were talking about the subtle, how Black Americans are really challenging the myth and the illusion that white supremacy brings to this country and keep them intact.
Our goal has been and must be to dismantle white supremacy. As Bob Marley said, until the color of a man's skin is of no greater significance than the color of a man's eyes, there will be war. Now, this war doesn't have to be a physical war, but there's struggle and there's a competition. Our mission as human beings and our role as Africans who've been in bondage and who have freed ourselves by our hand, by our work and insurrection, and by the help of our allies, politicians, creating situations that made the country make the right decision, not because it wanted to, but because it had to. Our gift here is to continue to put the country in positions to make the right decision. And that takes courage. Ferguson is going to allow that. Ferguson is allowing all of us to look at the systemic problems in the grand jury system, in the justice system, in the social service system, in the opportunity for Black youths to have both recreation and counseling and mentoring, education, and job opportunity, and the lack thereof. And it also is going to have us look at why there's only, what, 3, 4, 5% voter registration by Black people in Ferguson. That's crazy. It's crazy.
And
but
that's probably what we see.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah.
So, when we talk about the daily life of a Black person, average Black person, it's full of challenge from the moment you wake up. Am I going to be Black? How much Black and how much white? So, white don't ask those questions when they get up in the morning. I mean, that's what we talk about white privilege. You don't have to ask those questions.
Right. Yeah.
You are asked.
Yeah.
It's not even an ethic. Is this an ethic, ethnic group?
So my wife and I used to walk in the skyways every morning for exercise. We'd walk from the parking lot on 4th.
You take a risk right there.
Well, I didn't see it that way. I mean, it's being healthy, right? And I figured skyways, public, I'm a citizen, taxpayer, et cetera. I'd get up and I'd walk from 4th in Washington all the way down to where the Hyatt Hotel is. Yeah. 45-minute walk, great walk every day. One day we're walking around the corner.
Well, a lot of people do.
It's crowded, Yeah. But one day, 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, there's this kid, 2 years old, blonde hair, blue eyes. He's walking. And so my wife and I say, we're parents. How can this parent, wherever the parent is, let this kid be so far away? The mom is maybe a block away. And so our training is that you have to always watch yourself and your children. You cannot let your children out of your sight because you never know what's lurking around the corner, right? Kid could fall. It could be something simple like that, or it could be something that's evil, like a bad person. Well, this kid's just walking, having a great time.
He's
3 years old, not afraid. And so, and the mom is there a block away. She catches up with him, he keeps going. And so my wife and I decide, to look at this, and what it suggests is this sense that this child is being raised to learn, to know that the world belongs to him. This is his playground, right?
The way he walks.
The freedom.
Yeah.
The world belongs to him, and he expects everything to be okay. That's different from what our experience is. And I juxtapose that against stories my wife tells, and I can tell the same stories, but walking home from a high school basketball game when she's maybe 12, 13 years old in Crystal Springs, Mississippi, and she and her girlfriends walking home, white kids come up in a car and shout the N-word, chase them. They take off through the woods, but it's not kid play. They are running in fear of their lives. This is a town, a small town of fewer than 5,000 people, a town that they were born in, that their parents were born in, their grandparents born in. Black people have been there out of slavery into freedom, sharecropping, et cetera, but part of this community, and in that community, they have to grow up knowing that you must be fearful that at any moment somebody white could take your life.
So you never, you never grow up like an innocent child. Like this is not. Kids are teasing each other in a schoolyard.
You do that
park.
too. There's that plus. I mean, there's an extra dimension
For African kids. You have to think beyond that.
You have to, and so like part of the conflict. What's the guy's name? The football player who's being challenged for spanking his kids, Peterson.
Yeah.
And so, in the black community, all of us have stories about getting whipped, spanked, whipped, switch. The big story is that, I mean, every black community in the country will say, my grandma or my dad would make me go out and find the switch, cut it and bring it, and then bend over and you get beat with it, right? But that was the method of discipline. I disagree with it. I especially disagreed with it then when I was a victim of it. But that's our culture, right? I mean, and so now for Adrian Peterson to be being judged as he is, it's a watershed thing. It's going to change things in the black community. It's a good thing. But the intent of the prosecution, I think, is bad intent. It's not about protecting the child.
Exactly.
This is about demonizing Adrian Peterson.
And participate in the narrative. Of black violence. It reminds me. Go ahead. Finish.
No, that's it. Go ahead.
It reminds me. I know you probably don't follow the Premier League, the soccer in Europe.
I don't.
They have a lot of ethnic players from South America. Suarez is the best striker probably in the world, besides Messi. He plays with Liverpool, and he bit somebody. He's a Fritz.
Sure,
remember? And he did it in World Cup.
Yeah.
The whole, you see the reaction of the established media, Western media, as if this guy actually molested or commit a crime of capital crime. Whereas Rooney, a British player, can kick somebody, run after another player and kick him. It's just throw him out of the field. And he get a red card, yes. He might get one game suspension. But there will not be a debate about Rooney's kick. But the debate about Suarez' bite, barbaric. And
all the language.
The language that's reserved to color people. Where in fact, when you look at the system of Premier League, it's full of racism, and it's like football here. It's a white club and all that. And the same thing was flagging this black Muslim player who he kneeled down. This is a flagging a Muslim. The same thing as, and it seems like we see it over and over again, but in different application, different subtlety.
It's like, it reminds me of Pastorius, is that his name? So he can kill somebody. And he gets a slap on the wrist, 4 or 5 years in prison.
In a major black country.
And in a black country, but the system is still a white supremacy system, even with blacks controlling the levers. So that's the challenge.
So let's talk about Obama. I mean, let's talk about some of the positive things transpired in the last, 50 years. I mean, he's the first African-American president of superpower, biggest, most powerful nation on earth. As a black person, I'm not saying he represents blacks. He presents ideal, whatever he wants to. But are the black, based on this almost 8 years now, how is he doing? Did it affect really, beside the fact people look at somebody of power that looks like them, beside this hindsight and byproduct, I'm talking about his result as a CEO of a country that's based on racism and black.
Results, let's measure them in 3 levels. One, you talked about, there is the mental and spiritual
Different image.
Power that comes from this idea of his success in the bid for presidency, and the image of Barack and Michelle as the White House, the first family, their children. It's powerful. It's inspiring, and people take it to heart. It means something to you. And what it means is that you re-examine your potential and whether or not you can and should, whether you're likely to succeed if you try to make things change or build things in your community. So that's a huge positive global impact in the black community. Number two, because he was successful in generating more people to vote that had not been voting in previous elections, a lot of local communities experienced first-time new members of city council or legislature. So there was the impact of having more turnout at local levels. There was a positive one, particularly in the 2 presidential elections. Once you hopefully get people engaged and involved and finding that
in minority or just the young people?
In minorities in particular, but young as well, young and minorities. So that's a good thing. But 3 specific results: healthcare, the Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, I think is going to be the signature and most significant accomplishment of his presidency, because it forever alters how Americans have access to health care without the restrictions that prevent it.
So that's his legacy when he lived. Even he failed in Afghanistan and all foreign policy, now we have ISIS and all that crap.
Well, the question is, did he fail in Afghanistan if he is able to withdraw our troops there? If he continues the withdrawal of troops from Iraq, and if he doesn't allow an invasion of Iran, I call that success. And I think to the degree that he figured he's slow to engage U.S. ground troops in new conflicts, he's committed and followed through on his objective of withdrawing ground troops in Afghanistan. I call that a success.
And this is a new doctrine for American people, usually committing. But the thing is, you know, when you talk about his legacy, compare it to 45, whatever prison we had before. And there is an argument now, or question asked, is he transformative president? Is he really like Johnson, you know, his achievement of, is he like Kennedy? Is he like, you know, is he going to leave America different than when he got it?
I think so, and I think, again, the single thing that will reflect that is health care for everybody. If we have a health care policy,
which is not,
it's huge.
Perfect now, but
you know, 7 presidents have tried to reform the healthcare system, and all to naught, because they have not been able to challenge the industry and rich people who control the system of need and insurance and the pool. So now we've basically done a major game changer with the American Affordable Care Act, and I think Obama deserves the credit for that.
And might lead to something, other things. If you can do it in healthcare, we can do it in welfare, we can do it in other things.
Right.
Thank you so much, Al, for coming. Appreciate that. Al McFarlane of Insight News, and that will end our show. We'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.